All right, I wanted to make a quick video which is talking about how a lot of advice for beginner guides has been outdated and needs to be addressed. And there were two issues on this controversial Reddit post saying many of the beginner advice from before 2024 is out today in today's raid. And I think the two pieces of advice that they're talking about is one, the first character that you should take to level 60 is going to be your starter champion. And two was about the general approach to one key clan boss. And I wasn't even aware that that was advice. And I wanted to agree with this post in saying that there are different strategies that work well today, specifically with clan boss, because I've been streaming and people will come into my chat and they'll say, well, how do you tune this? How do you speed tune that? What do you do for unkillable? But you see that little animation right there? See that little animation up here? That was cool. There was animations up here. I love that they changed the scene. My understanding, they have different background music too. Now, part of what we're going to talk about today is due to the abundance of free codes. So like if you use my code here on the screen, you're going to get Corrado, 3 epics, and then you can use promo code Demon Slayer to get Thalin. And then you're also going to get Michelangelo, right? If you log in for 7 days. And the first free champion, your starter champion, which is a rare, the general suggestion is to pick up Kale. Now, I did take Kale up to 60 at some point. I don't think he's my first one. And there is value in taking Kale to 60 because they have these really annoying clan boss advanced quest that says use one rare champion against the clan boss, and Kale actually does pretty good at that because he uses poison, and he's generally considered to be the best of the 4 starter champions, but they all get outdated and outgrown so quickly. Now, because I'm recommending Tholen, I used to recommend Sun Wukong. Both are great examples of campaign farmers, and campaign farmers are what's going to help grow your roster probably the best. The quicker that one can get to 12-3 on Brutal in the campaign nodes, the better. And then if you have one champion like Tholen upgraded, he's just going to fly through it. Now, I started my journey Raid Shadow Legends with Sun Wukong. My opinion has changed. I like Tholen better because I like Tholen inside a clan boss, which we're going to talk about. But this was my campaign farmer. Now, there's something called masteries in the game, and masteries are a real hassle. The min-max, most efficient way to get masteries is to go through the dungeon and farm them in Minotaur, and it just takes forever finishing off the masteries. The general suggestion is, for your very first 60 is to spend the 800 gems to do the masteries in its entirety. That way you have one character up and running. So in this situation today, I'm going to say, yeah, do that to Tholen. Absolutely do that to Tholen. And have him be your first one to level 60. Now, if you do go the Kale route, the one advantage to Kale is that he's rare, and it's going to be easier to book a rare. Tholen's going to be a legendary, and it's going to be more challenging to take all of his abilities up to their max level because it is those legendary books right here are very, very valuable, where I found that I did encounter the rare books relatively quickly. Lastly, let's talk about clan boss. So I do something called brute force, and I was able to get brute force not only in my account relatively easy, Dulam's account, and now Cat is just a couple million away from crossing that 70 million threshold. This is going to be the single best access to resources on a daily basis is in the Demon Lord. The rewards are huge, whether it's sacred shards, legendary books. This is a must do. And once you can cross the threshold of getting over this 70.28 million damage, it becomes simmable. And then, this can be a time sink every day, 10, 20, 30 minutes a day, where when you sim it, this suddenly becomes a 30-second adventure, and the drops are just very good. Like I said, the books, the legendary books here and here are huge very, very vital in making progression in the game. And the easiest way to get through that, in my opinion, is what I would call brute force. Absolutely, brute force is going to be the easiest way to do that. Also, a good idea to move forward inside the arena. You can see right here, I am in gold 4 because I pretty much have the one-man defense. And then going to gold 5 will get me the 22% stats that carry over into every single game mode. And my suggestion is, when you load into arena, there's going to be 1 or 2, maybe 3 teams are very easy to defeat. So when you log in, go and play, you're going to find that there's just super easy teams like this right here. Do that match and then just do the super easy ones. And then before you log out, do it again. But every 15 minutes you can come and look and see if that is the case. And so that's going to be important to get to gold 5, because right here, that's going to give 22% stats in every game mode. And if you're down here getting 3, 4, 5, 6, so this is something that you have to be deliberate about, and it's going to get easier as time goes on. And we're talking about maybe you've been playing the game for a couple months, but there's really no reason, if you've been playing the game for, let's say, 6 months, to not be into gold 5. It's just a matter of the time that it takes to go in, take the easy matches, and then dip out. Don't take the hard matches. Right when you log in, right when you log out, and then put a good defense. Now, I typically don't like running up to like this 3,900 area. I will put, I'm that guy. What's happening here, right here with Classic Arena, I'm that guy that will put just Arbiter on defense. Now, there's a arena thing coming up, and I was dropping below the 3,200 threshold, so I have a full team on. But when I get up to 3,400, then I go back and put just Arbiter on defense. I'm the guy that does this. I'm the guy that you can attack and get the very easy points, right? And so what I'm talking about by brute force is fully maxing out characters without a speed tune, without an unkillable, so that I can go into Demon Lord and just load up, and I swear I could run any number of teams. And typically the strategy is going to be like 2 damage dealers and then some sort of support. There's support, a negative effect supplied by him, defense down. This is going to be my revive healer. This is going to put all kinds of positive effects on the team, so that essentially I have attack up, defense up, all kinds of positive effects. This is putting tons of buffs on the team. This is extending the buffs. And then this is putting an attack all, putting HP burn, putting bleed, and then also defense down. And so I've got a complete team. This is brute force. The problem that people have is like, I ran a team with Duelam, and Duelam was getting 78 million and Cat was getting 40 million. And the reason why is this type of strategy only works if you actually do the brute force. And so Cat put a list of ways of customizing your characters and getting the most out of them, which probably should be a separate video, but I want to go over this very quickly, is leveling up. Yeah, the main thing is that to tackle any of the more, to use characters in Raid Shadow Legends, essentially their value of them is going to be much, much better when they go from 0 to 50, 0 to 60, and which also ties into the rank up. So level 60 is going to be a goal. In my opinion, characters are only useful if they're at level 60. So that means you have to rank them up, and then you have to rank them up after you level them up. And so if you've been playing the game, it's kind of, you take a 1-star, take it to level 10, merge it with another 1-star, then you get a 2-star, then you have to take it to level 20, then you have to take 2-2-stars to merge it together with the 20, and then you have a level 1 3-star, and you have to take that to level 30, and then you have to take 3 other 3-stars to merge into a 4, and so on up. And by the time you get to the top, it is quite a big thing, because once you have these 50s right here, it's going to require a total of 5 of these. And then you're going to have a 6-star at level 16. You're going to have to level them up. And that's why that 12-3 in Brutal Campaign, which is going to be the efficient way to do that through campaign farming And of course, you want to use your brews, which costs a little bit of silver. Ascending, gotta ascend your characters. So ascending characters is going to give you access to putting all of the accessories on them. So at some point, you can put the ring, and then when you take them up to 3, right here, there's generally an added effect in one of their abilities. So like if I go right here and I hit Tavern and I hit Ascend, the first charge is basic stats. The second stats just more stats. The third one will gain a new skill. And then at 5, I will get this middle piece. And then at 6, I will get the full ensemble. So not ascending characters means that I'm not going to be able to use all 9 pieces, which the game is mostly about gear. I mean, let me give you an example about how important gear is. Gear. This game is all gear. I can just pull up any random champion. Let's pull up Arbiter, for example. She has a base speed of 110. So if I think that the character matters the most, well, all I'm going to get is 110 speed. What extra stats? I've got her up to 388 speed. It's because of gear. Mostly artifacts. 266 out of her speed, out of that 388 is coming from gear. I just wanted to let you know, gear on some level is more important than the character. The character is the shell of what the character's abilities do, but the actual speed and the power and the effectiveness of the character is largely, not solely, affected by gear. And in general, you'll hear things like focus on good pieces of gear over sets. Well, set bonuses can be important too. 2-piece sets, I believe, are relatively easy. Speed's an excellent set. But yeah, putting sets together, like this Pharaoh right here. So place a block debuff on wear at the start of round 2. But if you don't have 4 good pieces of Pharaoh, that's probably not worth doing. As opposed to running 3 pieces that are good and then a 4th piece that is good. Generally, stats over sets is the correct advice early on. But gear is so important. In addition to it providing a large bulk of the stats, at some point, characters get extra abilities, like an extra set of skills just coming from the gear. And so I'll give you an example right here. I've got Godseeker, geared out in a regeneration set where every time she takes a turn, she's passively healing. Same thing with Immortal, which 4-piece, 2-piece set. This is important, but when you start out the game, not so much. You just have to have good pieces of gear. Most certainly want speed boots. Speed boots is the way to go. As far as stats go, speed and accuracy are the 2 most important stats in the game. Godseeker is a character that does not place negative effects, so she's unique in the way that she does not need accuracy. But you know what? Other characters do. And this is an extreme example of a number that's fairly high, but accuracy is so important. If you're playing up against a game mode and you're struggling, you got to Google whatever you're playing. I'm playing in Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss. What are the accuracy requirements? And it's a simple Google search, but if you're not meeting the accuracy requirements, your characters are not working. Accuracy requirement, yeah, I've already searched this before, right? And then you get the answer right here. Well, you need to have 269 is what they're saying. You might have to do a little bit more research, but knowing the accuracy requirements of whatever adventure you're trying to do is a simple Google away. Accuracy is beyond important, and then this is a turn-based game, so guess what? Speed's going to be important. Secondarily, if you're going to be doing damage, the general idea is to have 100% crit rate. That is going to be damage dealers. You're going to want to max out your crit rate at 100 and then as much crit damage as possible. And then at some point, there becomes a focus on ignore defense, which is probably for another day. It's kind of a big deal understanding gear. Gear is so important, and you want to level up your gear. Okay, so now we're getting into the details of gear, right? Gear maxes out at 16. In general, you get a lot of effectiveness at 12. The cost of taking a piece of gear from 12 to 16 is astronomical. Now, there are extra bonuses that come in at every multiple of 4. So when it starts off at the beginning, when you go to 4, you get an extra set of stats. Then you get an extra set at 8, 12, and 16. If silver, I don't know if I said gold before, but if silver is a concern, 12 is very reasonable. And Kat was kind of like, wow, you didn't take all of your characters. Like when she was looking at Duelim's account when I was doing the assessment of, what I was doing to one key at Clan Boss, she was really surprised that some of them I still had 12. 12s are okay. The cost from going from 12 to 16 is way more than the cost of getting to 12. It's very inexpensive to go to 12. Well, it's relatively inexpensive to go to 12. Very expensive to go to 16. So at the start, just focus on 12s. Upgrade skills. All right, so this is books. And this is going to be the most challenging part of the game for legendary characters, is having enough books to take the skills as high as possible. This is going to be the main bottleneck for me currently in Raid Shadow Legends because, if I can get an extra book and it applies to this ability right here, I will have a cooldown reduction. And unfortunately, when I apply books, so you can see that's 2 out of 4, that's 3 out of 4. I really don't get to decide where it goes. I got lucky that it already has that, and that has the cooldown reductions. But books are going to make a character work. I don't feel like one needs to hoard rares necessarily. Take your rares, book them out as early as you want to. It's not going to matter that much if you're upgrading your rares and you're using them in battle. Might as well put the books on them. Epics are easy to do. I have 100% of my epics that I play fully booked out. Legendaries, you got to be selectory, right? Upgrade skills, we talked about that. Masteries, oh my God, masteries. This is probably the single one thing that gets neglected is masteries. The characters will not work correctly without masteries. It's like you're using half a character. They're not reaching their potential without masteries, specifically against bosses, because, on a non-damage dealer, using this War Master, which is the very last one, it's going to pop up behind me right here. War Master makes them actually do some damage against a boss. So there's excellent tools out there, Yumi Love and Hell Hades, that will give suggestions on various builds for each character. And then at some point, one will learn what works best for you and what you're using your character for. But I want to say in the first 6 months of playing Raid Shadow Legends, I just took the generic suggestions directly from Hell Hades. After a while, I realized that there were some things that I wanted to do differently, and there was some trial and error. But you're going to have to do this in Minotaur, or it's just a cost of 800 gems. So I farm Minotaur because I like to min-max it quite a bit. And instead of costing me 800, it ends up costing me about 640. Plus, I can level them up, and I get silver. So it's time consuming, yeah, but it is way more min-max efficient to use Minotaur. But if you have, I'm just gonna say this right now, I feel like if you have 60s that don't have masteries, they're not gonna work. You're not gonna get through Clan Boss. Specifically this right here on your supports, the War Master, it's gonna add so much damage to them. Gotta do it. It's a big deal. That was probably my number one gripe in when I took a look at Kat's account and Duelim's account. I'm like, yeah, if you don't do these masteries, you're not getting any value out of your characters. They're not working correctly. And you gotta do it. You gotta do it. Glyphs on gear. I know some people like to hoard glyphs and not put glyphs because there's some really horrible missions in Rama 2 that require glyphs. I don't care about Rama 2, I only care about Marius and the restrictions and the glyphs needed there. I rather move forward in faction wars and actually get more access to glyphs than bother with hoarding glyphs. Glyphs are so important. If I look at Arbiter and I look at, Arbiter is very much a speed character. Yeah, I'm getting speed, but I get an extra 5 speed there, right? And then if I go down here, I get another 5 speed there. I get another 5 speed there. And then I got another 8 speed. And then I got another 7 speed. So glyphs are important. Especially if I'm not able to go over the top, putting glyphs on my, putting glyphs on, it's just such a big deal. I kind of want to find somebody that I don't have glyphs on yet. Who did there's somebody I just modded today, and I probably didn't put glyphs on it because I just put gear on her today. Yeah. So I can't, this is such a big deal. I don't think that this is in particularly like a high value piece of gear, but this makes such a big difference, right? And I typically will only run one piece. I don't really get too obsessed about whether it was 1% or 2% until it gets razor thin. Glyphs quite often will push whatever I'm trying to do over the edge. Like if I'm close and I'm not quite there, glyphs make all the difference. I always have an extreme shortage of speed, and I run this near to zero. Now, if I just hoarded glyphs all the time, I wouldn't be able to progress in Faction Wars. But because I spent most of my glyphs to do well in Faction Wars, I'm getting more glyphs. So sometimes hoarding doesn't make sense, is what I'm trying to say. Affinity bonuses. Okay, so we're going to go to the Great Hall. There's 2 areas where you can boost. There's affinity bonuses, which affects each color, each, affinity, which is the force, spirit, magic, rather up there at the top, there's the force, and then you've got void. Generally, I think accuracy, if I was to redo the game and start a brand new account, I would have definitely started with accuracy and took them to 10, because the mission you have to take 1 to 10, and then you got to take 3 to 10. I ended up doing like crit damage, but I'm going to say accuracy is the most important, and this affects all of the magic characters in all game modes. Now, this entire grid takes about 2.5 years. Yeah, 2.5 years to max out. So I've been playing for a year, and it gets really steep at some point. Easy. You get to level 6, and then you hit a wall, and it just gets really pricey because I'll be using the gold crests or whatever they call. Not only is 300 to get to 6, but then to go to 7 costs 700. So I took them all to 6, but then I hit a wall. So this is from regular classic arena, and then arena bonuses are going to come from playing in live arena. Faction Wars costs the least amount of points, and if knowing what I know now, I don't know if I would have put all of these bonuses in the other areas. I think Demon Lord is of high importance. Specifically speed. Speed is not offered on affinity bonus, but area bonuses. Speed is probably going to be the most important. Accuracy is going to be very important, and then ignore defense. And then because I've, potion keeps, I don't really need to put any there. I was able to beat them. If you're not able to beat them, this is a way that you can get extra boosts. If you're stuck in Ice Golem, you're stuck in Fire Knight, you're Dragon Lair, whatever, and you're just like, I can't quite get there. This might be enough to push you over the top. Knowing what I know now, I would have put everything into Faction Wars, and now I'm putting everything into Cursed City, because those are the 2 areas that I can't max out. Largely, all of these other resources, I put in everything up here. Made sense at the time, but today it really doesn't matter, where I need every bit out of Faction Wars. And I'm going to say that Demon Lord is probably more important at the beginning of the gear than that. All right, affinity bonuses, then add relics. Oh my God, relics. Now, there are so many staple, good, rare, which are common relics in the game. Molten Death Bell. Any character that does stun or fear or anything like that. So there's a bunch of them like Fabian or Lady Mikage. This is a rare, and I'm only going to be talking about rares. Of course, there's better legendaries, better epics, better mythicals, but just as rares. Yeah, and this gives accuracy. In fact, if you're struggling with accuracy, use Molten Death Bell. As far as generic healers and supports, any character that offers healing and turn meter is going to be the Journal of Necrotis. I feel like I use this on almost every single one of them. And I'm only going over the rares. And then on what do we say, like just damage dealers in general. Like of course, there's the cat's gaze and then there's some mythicals that are better, but on your normal generic damage dealer, the best one is going to be the Talon. I got to find the Talon right there. The Malefic Talon. There you go. There's also one out of Faction Wars glyphs that and they're rare and they're super useful for poison dealers. And largely the rest of the rares are not useful, but you have to do this. And I feel like 9 is easy to get to at some point. I think going to 12 needs to be reserved for your best relics in the game. My 2 favorite relics right now are going to be the Coronet for damage alongside Cat's Gaze for damage. And then in Arena in general, I like the Wand of Submission. Level up, rank up relics. Yeah, that's what I just said. You got to take them to level 9. Area bonuses, we already talked about. Perfect Souls, which is going to be blessings. Boy, how do I get into this? Is a long conversation here. Generally, what I do on blessings is there's good suggestions on Hell Hades. You can see the red stars right there. That's going to be requiring me going in every day and doing fortress keys and then being mindful of things that come in the soul merchants. And, I like getting the first star because that enables the blessing and gives them more HP. And then every star beyond that gives them more added effects. There are some pretty significant boosts in effects that happen when you get into the higher stars, specifically the 6-star, as one would expect. Faction Guardians, okay. This is not, Faction Guardians is just for training. I'm going to load this up right here. There's a training mission right now, so I kind of was blasting through all of these. But what her list there is suggesting is that there are bonuses right here, Faction Guardians, that's the sparring pit. And it is for each rarity, not mythicals, but rare, epic, legendary. And then you can put them in there, and then this will affect all of your rare banner lords. They will get 10% HP, 10% attack, 7% accuracy, 10% defense, 3 speed. I want to say also, don't use this commission button. Just don't use it. When you understand what it does, I wish that it wasn't even available until you're like level 100. Don't use the commission button. I'm not going to even explain why. Don't use it. But I save all of my epics and rares. I do not use them for food under any circumstances. And then I will fill this up all the way. And then the next one here is empowerment. And I will only empower characters once I've got the banner lords filled up. So once, because this right here will affect every single epic banner lord. But then at some point I get that full, and then I can take them up to as high as +4. So like here's a Geomancer, and you can see that when I clicked on his name, it said +4 right there on the screen. And that means that I fused in additional copies of Geomancer, right? So I had already filled up the dwarfs, and then I have +4, meaning I empowered the extra ones into him, giving him massive more amount of stats. Do not do that. Do not use your epics for food. Do not empower champions until you have them all filled up. And the same is also true for the legendaries, it's specifically true on legendaries. I've not empowered a single legendary. There may be one-off exceptions to the rule, but you can see I've got duplicates right here. I think I have right here in Shadowkin, got a total of 2 sets of duplicates. When I get a third duplicate, I get those bonuses that affect all my legendaries. See this effect, and this is completely unwindable if I don't use that commission feature. Again, don't commission champions. So if you do all of that, you should be able to 1-key Ultra Nightmare. As long as you have 2 good attackers that are suitable for Demon Lord and 3 good supports that are suitable for Demon Lord. And as long as you've gone in and maximized all of those things, you should be able to brute force 1-key Ultra Nightmare without having to do a horrifically hard speed tune. I don't like the speed tune things. I've tried it. The single most frustrating thing I've experienced in this game is not being able to speed tune correctly. It's complicated. an unkillable team and getting it to work correctly. It was a hassle. Even using Godseeker in Sand Devil and getting the stats on the gear right, getting the right kind of gear, getting the right kind of speed was a huge hassle. Where strategy I'm talking about and what I'd have done is kind of just brute force, but brute force is going to require being mindful of all of these type of upgrades. Now, the one thing I don't think she put, oh, she did, and I just passed over, is ascending gear. This is going to be important on a couple ones in general, specifically speed on the speed boots. It's a 1 in 7 chance that when you start to ascend this, so imagine this is like red stars on, you see you got red stairs here. Well, normally they don't have, they're just yellow, but you're going to want to upgrade and then ascend them. And the thing about boots, it has a total of 7 possible stats. Speed's going to be the best one. Right here, if this was Arbiter was a damage dealer, which he is not, this is going to be a place where I can get extra crit damage if I was trying to get damage out of her. This one right here has a whole host of additional stats that can be acquired right here. Look at all these. And these percent ones are generally better than the flat ones. Crit rate, crit damage, yeah. And then accuracy is also going to be very useful right here. You can see I got an extra accuracy there. And then right here, this one can roll accuracy. So if I hit this ascend and I hit the, you can see that it can roll accuracy resistance, which is going to be higher value than flat stats. I think I covered everything. I'm sure I missed something. You don't have to do all of this once, but if you want to one key Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss, you're going to have to be aware of all of these things and use promo code Demon Slayer to get Tholen, who is absolutely amazing inside of Demon Lord. And I think that's why he's the Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer right there. All right, let me know. Bye for now.